Hi everyone, this is Mark, and welcome to another episode of the podcast. As you may be aware, or you may not be aware, 3 weeks ago, I and my family lost someone very important. I lost my dad. My dad died on the 8th of December 2022, and quite honestly, I haven't got over it, and I never will get over it. And it's been very hard. The last 3 weeks, I can't accurately describe the tumultuous waves of emotion that I've felt, that my family has felt, that have raged from anger to sadness. And of course, the worst thing is that because of the timing of my dad's passing, it's meant that Christmas this year, which usually for me and my family was, and for most families, is a time of joy and celebration, a time when we can all come together and be there for one another. It's meant that this year Christmas basically got, for me, it got cancelled really. It didn't mean as much as it normally does. I had a Christmas dinner on Christmas Day that was prepared for me and for my parents and for my mum, for my sister Claire, for my brother-in-law Ben. But I've got to be honest. As a result of losing my dad, things have changed. A lot of things have changed. From the day that he died, from the moment that he died, that I knew that he died, everything changed for me. My life changed, the way I looked at life, the way I thought about myself, the way I looked at people, the way I looked at the world. Everything was just obliterated, and it was replaced by a perspective on the world that I didn't recognise, and it was a really bad time. It's still bad now, as you can imagine, and it's hard to come to terms with it, quite honestly, because my dad was such a big part of my life and our life as a family. But yeah, so quite honestly, the world for me will never be the same again. And I took some time away from the podcast, away from poetry, because I didn't think I'd ever come back to it. Quite honestly, I didn't think I'd record another episode of the podcast, whether that's an episode of a poem a day, in which I recite a poem that I've written, or whether I talk about a film that I've watched, or something that I've experienced, or something that I've done, because it doesn't matter. To me, it doesn't matter as much as the new reality, the new world that I now live in, which is one that is bereft of someone who was truly amazing in every way. My dad was truly amazing, truly inspiring, not only to me, but to a lot of people. And since I started sharing the devastating news that my dad had died, a lot of people have approached me and have shared their condolences with me. People who worked with me in the past, people that work with me now, people that work with my dad before he retired, which has been, you know, unbelievable. And it's helped, but what can really help a person like me or my mum or my sister Claire, who has lost someone so vital, someone who was always thinking about other people. That's something that a lot of people say about my dad, is that he was always thinking about people, he was always thinking ahead as well, which is something that my dad and I share and have in common. But yeah, what can I say? And I recorded an episode talking about my dad, I think about a week ago, and I never put it out. I was going to, but I decided not to, because quite honestly, it's the last 3 weeks has been, as I say, it's been a roller coaster of emotions. In fact, this year for me has been a roller coaster. It's not been a great year for me. Although, you know, I've had 2 books published. I had a book of poetry published, Poet of the Multiverse. I also had a book published just before December, entitled The Wolf in Us, which was the conclusion and the culmination of the story of a long time character that I've been writing about, Olivia Hunter. And I didn't know at the time that I was writing the story of The Wolf in Us that it would be the last. In a way, I knew. When I first began writing it, though, I thought there was something different about it, that might be the last book that I would write about Olivia Hunter, and you know, her own roller coaster of her life, in which she's a mother, and also a werewolf. But I always envisioned the story of Olivia Hunter to be, and the wolf within her to be a trilogy, and I'm glad that I got to make that a possibility, because, you know, after the first book, The Wolf in Me, I didn't think there'd be a second book, The Wolf in You, or a third book, or a tie-in book, Vega, the Vampire King. I didn't ever foresee that. But quite honestly, the way it ended in The Wolf in Us, you know, Olivia Hunter literally leaving for parts unknown, it kind of seems poetic now, and I don't think I could return to the character one day, maybe, if I came up with a good idea, but I can't ever foresee that yet. And I'm not even thinking about it. I'm not even thinking about my next book. All I'm thinking about is my dad, how much I miss him, all I'm thinking about is being there for my mom, my sister Claire, my half sisters Heather and Julia, and the people in my family who I've only just found out really that my dad died. Just before Christmas, I went to go and see my Uncle John, which is my dad's elder brother, and I had the unfortunate job to tell Uncle John that his brother, my dad, had died. Fortunately, my cousin was there as well, Desmond, but it was very upsetting for not only me but my Uncle John, because my dad's family. My dad had one brother, one elder brother, and also he had 4 sisters originally. Fortunately, my Auntie Mary died several years ago, which was very sad. Sad for me, sad for our family, sad for my dad, because she was a wonderful woman. I remember we went on holiday as a family. My Uncle Mary, my mom, my dad, my sister Claire and me, we went to Florida for the first time in 1989, and it was great. My Aunt Mary was always laughing. She was very, very similar to my dad. My dad was very, he was up for a laugh. He was always smiling. His smile, beaming smile, is just something that I'll always remember, as well as his bright blue eyes. He was just the best. As you can imagine, I miss him so much. But yeah, I honestly didn't think I would write another poem, another story. I didn't think I'd ever record another episode of the podcast, because previous to the day my dad died, I had pre-recorded some poems that were going to be a part of a poem a day, and they were all scheduled to be released. I think I had 4 previously recorded, and then after the fact, after my dad died, those first few days, I didn't want to talk to anyone apart from my family. I didn't want to be anywhere other than around my mum and my sister Claire. I took some time away. I couldn't even think about or even dream about potentially writing another poem or publishing another poem, or it was just a crazy time, and it still is. My head, my heart, my soul, everything is still trying to come to terms with what's happened, and the days to come and the weeks to come, it's only going to get worse, if I can put it like that, because there are things that need to be done, and it's going to be hard. There are still hard days ahead. For the rest of my life, it's going to be hard, knowing that my dad's no longer with me, no longer with us. So I've spent a lot of my time the last few weeks with my mom and my sister Claire, and now I'm at home, and I know that my dad is still with us in some way, shape or form. As I record this now, I just know he's still there. I know he's still here. And I saw him after he died, and it was a shock. It was unbelievably painful. It was, soul destroying, world destroying for me, for my mum and my sister Claire. It was just awful, and it's still awful, as I say. But I said this to my mum. I can feel that my dad is still here. That he's listening to me. He's talking to me. As he always did, and he will always be there for us. But yeah, so as I say, I didn't know if I'd start writing again, but I have. I wrote a poem the other day dedicated to my dad, and I'm glad that I did, and I am slowly but surely getting back to writing, but losing my dad will affect me. It will affect my writing for years to come, however long I continue to write. Yeah, I've tried to, you have to go back, you have to try and get back into some kind of rhythm. I've been going back to Starbucks, and it's been hard because I was in Starbucks when I heard my mum first called me and told me what had potentially happened. And when I got home, initially there was hope that the worst hadn't happened, but when we got to the hospital, unfortunately we found out that what we initially thought had happened had actually happened, that Dad had died. But yeah, what can I say? Like I said, I've been writing again. We'll go back to Starbucks. But today, I went to one of my favourite Starbucks is in Birmingham, in Victoria Square, and I went to the counter, and the manager of Starbucks, Kate, who I've known for several years, she was the manager of the Birmingham Bullring Starbucks, and I've been into the Starbucks for the last week, going back, just trying to, try and reset if I could, try and find some kind of slice of normality, while I try and traverse this ocean of emotion and pain. And the last few times I've ordered my drink, and some people know me, when I go in there. Most people know me. When I go to my regular Starbucks, they know my name, they know what I drink, they know what I eat. And they'd ask me how I am, and I go, yeah, I'm okay. I don't really go into detail. I resisted the asking them, how their Christmas was, because I knew that the obvious reply would be, how was your Christmas? But today, Kate, who manages the Starbucks in Birmingham, in Victoria Square, who I've spoke to over the years. She's a wonderful person, always smiling, always talkative. I was there and I saw her, and I thought, she's going to ask me how I am, and I'll just ask, yeah, I'm okay. And she did. She said, oh, hi Mark, how, you okay? Yeah, I'm okay. How was your Christmas? She asked. And I went, okay. Well, to be honest, it wasn't okay. And I said, yeah, actually my dad died 3 weeks ago, just before Christmas, and of course Kate was taken aback, and she was saddened, and I started telling her how, how suddenly it all happened, how hard it had been, and it was hard recounting that. And every time I talk about it again, I've had friends reach out to me over text and say, that they're there if I need to talk. And I didn't want to sound rude, but I don't really want to talk to anybody about it because it's something that I'm going through, and I'm going to have to go back here soon and be around people again and talk to people, and they're going to ask me the same questions. How are you? What happened? And what do I say? I really don't know what to say. But it is good to talk. It is good to talk. I've always said this to people. It's good to talk about what you're going through. And of course I've been writing as well. I wrote a poem about my dad. I've written poems about how I'm feeling. I've written poems in the past about how I've been feeling at a certain time. And I've always been a little reticent to share a poem or a story that is autobiographical, that is not negative. I don't want to say negative, but that exposes me in such a way that it shows that I do feel dark. I do see darkness. As I said, because of what's happened, it's affected me. I'm usually quite a hopeful, optimistic person. I wrote a book of poetry, published a book of poetry back in 2014 called The Eternal Boy, because I've always had this this everlasting hopefulness and this energy and this dream-like, like a childlike dream, mind and imagination. And I published a book of poetry called The Dreamer and the Dream, because I am a dreamer, and for me, I've been living a dream. Going to places, meeting people, writing. It's been an amazing time. Amazing. The last 10 years since I first began writing, it's been great. I've been to New York, I've been to Georgia in the United States, I've been to Jersey in the Channel Islands. I've had, as I said, I've met people, been in relationships, had my heart broken, and as this year 2022 comes to a close, I can honestly say for the first time in 10 years I am single, heartbroken, in a great deal of pain. I have no idea what's going to happen, where I'm going to be, what I'm going to do, because everything feels like it's come to an end. The world for me feels like it's come to an end, and in a way it has, because everything before my dad died was one thing, and everything that's happened after is another, and it will be different. Things will be different. But yeah. But as you can probably gauge, if you don't already know me, I'm someone who likes to talk. I'm someone who likes to write. I'm someone who likes to express themselves. I'm usually someone who's known for being someone with a smile, someone who believes that everything happens for a reason, that for every problem there is a solution. very much like my dad was. You know, my dad was always someone who was helping people. If he could do something, if he could come up with a solution to something, he would, and 9 times out of 10, he could. And I've always tried to be like that, but I'll never compare to my dad. My dad's life experiences, the things that he did, the things that he experienced were, you know, singular to him, and he went through a lot of heartbreak when he was younger, the loss of his parents, the loss of his sister, and he had to go through a lot of crap, you know, and he had jobs, you know, he's had a multitude of jobs. He was a coal miner, he was a mechanic, he had his own garage, he was a truck driver, you know, he was someone who had a great deal of knowledge. He knew a lot of things about, he knew what every butterfly that flew past was. He knew what every bird was from just hearing their bird song. He knew every plane that flew in the sky when he looked up, and he knew what kind of plane it was, and you know, and music as well. You know, he was an avid Beatles fan. He loved the Shadows, the band The Shadows. Loved Roy Orbison. He loved Mike Oldfield. And he loved John Lennon. And a true fact here is that John Lennon was my dad's hero. He loved John Lennon, loved him, loved the Beatles, loved the music of the Beatles. He knew every title of every song. If he heard a song on the radio that was the Beatles, he knew not only the song title, but he knew all the lyrics. You know, he was a massive fan, and he could recite them, you know, off the top of his head. And on the 8th of December 2022, that was the 42nd anniversary of the death of John Lennon. John Lennon died on the 8th of December 1980, 5 months before I was born. And my dad died, as I say, 42 years after the fact, after John Lennon died, but on the same day. And I knew this on the morning my dad died. I knew that it was the 8th of December. I knew what the 8th of December was and what the significance of it was. And I still remember when my mum, my sister Claire and I were sitting in the room with my dad after he passed. And it was a time of emotional outpouring, of tears, of you know, I was just losing it, as you can imagine. And at one point I, you know, kind of screamed that today, that day was no ordinary day, that was the day John Lennon died. And you know, a few days ago I remember saying the exact same thing to my mum again, and she said she couldn't believe it. I don't suppose that she remembered what happened on exactly what happened on that day, because she does, you know. The events of the 8th of December 2022 are seared into not only my mum's memory, but into my memory, into my sister's memory, into a lot of people's memory. But yeah, that's a sad tidbit, if I can call it that my dad died on the same day, 42 years after his musical hero died. Yeah, I mean, every time my dad used to hear John Lennon, or used to think about John Lennon dying, he used to be overcome with emotion, and every day now, every year, when I think of the 8th of December, I'll think not only was it the day my dad died, but it was the day that John Lennon died. My dad was so caring and so kind, so loving, so sensitive as well. My dad had been through a lot of pain in his life. Hip replacements, because he had a physical life. Multiple hip replacements. Triple bypass. He had 2 heart attacks. So yeah, he'd been through a lot of crap. Life was not easy for him, and especially at the end, it was, he struggled. He really did struggle. And I tried to do my best for my dad and my mum, as I endeavour to now. I try to be there for my mum as much as I can. And I want to honour the memory of my dad as much as I can. But I just hope I can in some way, shape or form. But yeah, so as I say, there's a lot. I'm going through a lot right now, as I'm sure a lot of people are. But right now, it's I don't feel like I used to, unfortunately. As I said, I've had a lot of heartbreak over the last year as well. People have left me. Throughout my life, people have used me in some way, shape or form. But this year, it's been very bad. I've been through a very bad time. Up and down emotions. And losing my dad is just... I don't even know how to describe it. But it's earth-shattering, world-destroying. I wrote about death and things like that in the past, and true reality doesn't compare to what you write about. You're trying to imagine what somebody's feeling, and I've known people who've died in the past, but losing my dad, nothing can compare. And as I say, it's a long road. I know there's a lot more to do, a lot more to say. So yeah. But yeah, so I'm going to continue to write poetry. I'm going to continue to continue on with the podcast, however I can. But things are definitely going to be different. I don't know what's going to happen, but I think it's good to have something to have in front of you. Right now, if you're listening to this, you're listening to me open my heart and my soul about something that is very painful. From the moment that it happened, and I described this to my Uncle John and my cousin Desmond. It feels like I've got an open wound in my chest, that I've been shot in the chest by a shotgun or something, and I feel my chest feels tight, and just talking about my dad and losing my dad, it hurts. It really hurts. And it's never going to get any easier. As I said, especially when we have to do things that we have to do next. It's going to be hard. But I'm going to endeavour to continue to write poetry, continue to share my poetry, and just do what I can. Be there for who I can be there for. and just keep my dad in my mind, and keep talking to him, because as I said, I know he's still with us. I can feel him right now. It's very important that I try and be there, try and do what my dad used to do, be who my dad used to be, just try and embody his strength. But as I said, no one will ever compare to my dad. No one will ever be like my dad. I will never be. But he will always be an inspiration to me. And yeah. In the next few days, it's going to be a brand new year. And usually I'm always optimistic about the future, about the year to come. I think I was at the beginning of this year, in about a week's time, it'll be my dad's birthday on the 6th of January. So that's going to be a hard day. Usually we were always there with my dad and used to buy things for my dad and wish him happy birthday, and this will be the first year in the time that I've been alive that my dad hasn't been there. But like I say, he's still here in some form. I know he is. I can hear him. I can feel him. But things will be different. Things will change. And I already knew things were going to change after the events of this year, but what's happened, unbelievable. Yeah. But anyway, I think I'm going to leave it there for now. I just want to say thank you for listening. Thank you for listening to any episode of my podcast. Thank you for just, if you're someone who's read my poetry, someone who's listened to my poetry, and you keep coming back, or maybe you've heard me just talk about me and about things that I've been going through. Just want to say thank you. And I'll keep doing what I've been doing for as long as I can. Just like my dad. My dad used to say to me all the time, just do your best. And I'm going to endeavour to do that. And my dad will always be my inspiration. He will always be my hero. And there isn't a day that goes by when I won't miss him. And there isn't a day that goes by when my mum won't miss him. Or my sister, my brother-in-law won't miss him, and my little nephew Milo, who's just about to turn 2, who got to spend, the first 18 months or more of his life being held by my dad, being spoken to by my dad, and he will always be. I will always remind Milo, my nephew, of my dad, his granddad, and how amazing and how special and how important he was. And I just hope that, and I will make sure that Milo will never forget my dad. And I know my sister Claire won't let him forget him either. But yeah. So yeah, like I say, I'm going to leave it there for now. Just want to say thank you for listening. I always say I hope you like what you heard, but I just hope, I know there's people out there who are probably going through exactly what I'm going through right now, what my family's going through right now. I know that there are people out there who have been through what my family's going through right now, and who can sympathise with what we're going through and what we are going to go through, and yeah. Thank you for listening, and I'll talk to you again soon.